is love? Did I miss it? Am I home? Or still adrift? Love brought weight to this heart of mine. Gone to waste in due time. Keep on moving. You still can. Simple home, love in hand. Love brought weight to this heart of mine. Gone to waste in due time. Love brought weight to this heart of mine.
Sing to me, sweet night, the colors of your moon that my eyes cannot take in. Speak to me, fire, of the electricity that enables you to burn density into air. Ether, return me to my source through the breath. Over and over again, the great departure and the great arrival. One. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. A tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. I'm realizing here that love is a form of gravity. It's a force of least resistance. And if we allow it to, it takes us and it moves us in its direction. It can feel, when we're first taking it on to let love guide us, it can feel hard, and we can experience resistance to what it's asking of us. For example, telling somebody something that you've been afraid to say that's vulnerable, and you know, you can feel your heart knowing you need to tell them. You know, it's hard truth, or it's vulnerable truth. We fear the rejection, you know, the non-reception and unreceptivity to it. And that can feel hard when we are deciding, am I really going to open my mouth? What's hard isn't love, though. What's hard is the mind's fear around it and what it's coming up with as an interference. When you get that interference out of the way, love gushes. It's so natural. It will just flow, and you will love its flow. You will. It's just got this incredibly satisfying taste in the mouth afterwards. You know, it just feels amazing. So I recommend it. I wasn't trained on ritual. I wasn't trained on fancy bells and whistles of tradition around spirituality. I know how to honor these and even appreciate them, be party to them when my path crosses those that like to partake in methods of remembrance, their spiritual lives, their spiritual selves. And I find that it's not my boogie, it's my lovey, who's now in the spirit again. He used to love to say, it's not my boogie. It's, in as much as I'm more drawn to the breath as ritual, to simplicity, cleanliness, movements towards efficiency, mastery of various kinds, spirit in action, spirit at rest, spirit without rule or form, necessary form. I'm more interested in the micro embracing and experiencing of isness all the time. So that ritual is in every single thing. It's in cleaning a toilet bowl. It's in passing a person by that I'll never see again. It's in saving a little bug that I find in the house, or squishing a bug that I find in the tree. That in all things, pervading everything, is the ritual of isness, the presence that makes life so fun, so fresh, always new, always feeling whole, always safe. That's the ritual for me. I'll take the back roads home through the open countryside, letting things slip by in drawn out time. I'll take the long way home on the back roads of this life, taking time to see what goes by, coming and going. There's no dividing line. What you're headed for, someone's left behind. And the shortest road ain't always the best. Sometimes let a back road take you home. I was a very cherubic little kid. I was a light. I remember myself. I remember what it felt like inside. And I remember how that light was received. We all were born of that light. We are that light. You were too. Whether you remember it or not. Whether you extinguished it or diminished it so early on you can't remember or not. You are made of that light. That is you. You know it now. You know it with me. If you will, be quiet enough, slow down enough, and dare to look inside and remember again. To be that brave. To remember yourself again. You're in there. And you're as bright, beautiful, cherishable, totally enough as I was as a little kid and knew myself to be as a little kid. And as I am now. In my essence is so pure. So otherworldly. That essence, undisturbed, untampered, undiminished, knows how to navigate this world. It just knows. It does it elegantly, confidently, even when things get tricky, weird, even when others are lost around us, including those we hold the most dear. That essence in us knows how to navigate that. Really, really beautifully. Resourcefully, even. And with a calm that is so pronounced. And again, so not of this world, so noticeable. That it can get the attention well of others, not for the sake of doing so per se, but in that way that can be a healing, can be catalytic for them. To remember themselves and the light that they carry again. I was born shining that quite brightly And I learned early on that there are some who don't remember that they have that light in them. And when they don't remember that they themselves are sources of that purity, then at times folks like that, and in my case for sure, they can seek to get it from someone who is clearly emanating that. It's a form of predation, and at the same time, there's an innocence at the root. There's a misunderstanding and a damaged sense of self at the root of behavior like that. And I realized early on that there were people around me that were going to prey upon me in that way. And I sorted out some survival strategies, and one of them was to become boyish. First, to lower the lamp, diminish my light, tuck it away, keep it only and more to myself, like a secret, so that it wouldn't be interesting to those that might want to try to take it from me. And to become boyish. So that small little girl growing into a woman would not appear interesting to men that would want to dominate me in those ways that I didn't want. And it's interesting because it started subconsciously, just as a mechanism, just seeing so many brothers around and realizing, I can just copy them, their behavior, be boyish like them. They're not being preyed upon in this way that I know of. I'm going to be like them, tough. And I'm going to strut dudishly. See if that helps. And it did. And I put on weight too. Again, subconsciously. Not entirely only before that or because of that. I was taught at an early age to comfort myself with food, so it was an easy, natural discovery to make that it had so many downsides doing that. I didn't like being judged by my family and friends for having weight on my body. Well, the upside was people weren't preying upon me. They that energy, that lurky energy of interest in ways I didn't want, wasn't around. And what I noticed is that throughout my life, that old learned survival mechanism, the several here that I've mentioned, they're available to me. They're tempting for me when and if my mind feels vulnerable to those same old interests from others, forces, threats, dangers, what appears like danger, stresses. They're available as coping and as strategizing mechanisms. And I would say I adopted the boyishness. I adopted that so intensely that I fell in love with it in a way. In as much as even when I realized it was a survival mechanism that it originated from, that I liked it well enough, that I had gotten so comfortable in those mannerisms that they're not traditionally feminine, that I had come to appreciate them and get a kick out of them in myself, enough to keep them. And it doesn't sound interesting to switch back or to attempt to find my way back to the more effeminate little girl, little nymph that I was born as. And I have found it healing to, at the same time, not aim to suppress her and actually invite her up, to realize that none of these things are me. Not the boyishness, not the nymph, not even the feminine birth, not the gender. None of it is actually me. I am the soul that is not of gender. And at the same time, to honor that I was born female and that I have a female in me. And that I have traits that are that I have tendencies that are that distinguish me as that. To love those parts. To recognize that in my case, I would not have become more masculine. Not likely. Not my avatar. She wouldn't have become more masculine if she hadn't bumped into danger. Felt the need to protect, and that's okay, and that she gets to pick and choose now. I have no qualms about the idea of putting on a dress or putting a lighter step to my gait or being more about myself preening and all these different things that I at least equate with that feminine way. Of course, it's more an energy, the energy of the feminine archetype, and emulating that. I could. It's in me. I get to be anything that I want in terms of how I express myself. When we truly know that, we are not so defensive as we see a lot today. I see a lot of defensiveness around gender, and I'd like to throw into this arena of conversation that we don't need to actually be defensive anymore. We can just celebrate that we get to be any way we see fit. We get to express ourselves, and we can just be generous of spirit towards those that don't get it. I have lived that journey my entire life. I have been judged for my more boyish ways. I have been looked down upon by family for various choices I've made in how I express myself, and I made it through that. I'm still here. It didn't kill me. If anything, I built self-respect right off of that absence of support. Because I got to look inside and just question, well, what do I want and who do I want to be? And am I willing to be there for myself and support myself no matter what? No matter what no matter what anybody thinks or says. So I get to be this spirit embodying this avatar who likes to play out a boyish way, even though she knows she has a nymph at her roots, and she lets that nymph come out and play. That nymph emerges when I dance, and it's really valuable and medicinal for me to dance and let that part of me express. There's no doubt in my mind that working off of survival mechanisms and squelching energies that are natural in me, when I squelched them, that was a big part of what caused me to create such chronic illness. No doubt in my mind. So creating a balance and a means of letting these different energies in me express shamelessly is so important. And I feel such a dose of goodness, of zest, of juice, of life force flow through me when I do. Hopefully sharing some of my stories really brings up a resonance for those of you that explore these things, even if it has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, genderiness or weight gain or these different things that I've gotten a journey in and out of. Just that challenge of what survival mechanisms we pick up, getting to know what they are, seeing them for what they are, and then getting to make a new choice about them. You liking it? Is it working? Realizing we can shift them if we want to. Really loving ourselves in not if we don't. Simple.
Spring suit when the first blossoms arrived, and the low rumble below the soil pleaded to undress me and water my bare skin. So I let go, and spring changed me. I watched it rearrange me, and I smiled, flow